Hello and welcome to Bear Football here on the Barroom Network. John Buffone alongside Aldo Gandia and Tyler Ellis. The Bears fall 26-23 to the New Orleans Saints in overtime. Gentlemen, it looked good. It looked bad. It looked terrible at some points. It looked hopeful. All in all, there was so much wrong, and yet they still had a chance to somehow win this game. I don't think either team really deserved to win this game, but the Saints come out. They end up. The Bears had their chance in overtime too, and they screwed it up. So let's go around for some immediate reactions before we dig into some details. Aldo, what did you see?
Well, I think that the Chicago Bears are the worst third-quarter team in Chicago Bears history. Their third quarters this year have been awful, and the third quarter in today's game is really where they lost the game. Now, they only lost that third quarter by 6-0, but what they did in that quarter is going to leave scars. What Javon Wims did with the fighting and being thrown out of the game, with Nick Foles looking so incredibly amateurish with some of his throws. Now, I don't blame him. He's getting pass rushed up the yin-yang, and so that's definitely impairing his throwing motion. But at the same time, he made bad decisions on top of that. And so you can't – you got to be brave in that pocket. You got to be courageous, and you got to take the hits. And clearly, he is a rattled quarterback right now. So there were a lot of things that went wrong in that third quarter, and yet they still had a chance to win. The fight never left this team. I feel sorry for this defense. They're really being put up against the wall, not only by their opponents, but mostly by the offense.
The offense.
And so you can walk away and say, well, this was good. But the bad thing is that we had an opportunity to separate ourselves from the Green Bay Packers. The Packers play on Thursday, and the Bears now have lost a key NFC game, and it's just sad. It really is.
Brothers, I mean, there's no excuses. We had an opportunity. It's rather bittersweet because we actually had a real opportunity. We were down by 10 with 3 minutes left in the game. And so we know Nick Foles is streaky. At first, he looked like it just wasn't working at all. And I'm like, why we just make it harder than it has to be? But then Nick Foles goes 12 for 15 with 98 yards and a touchdown. And so it's frustrating because you see it's possible. And then the defense can only make so many stops before Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara, they get loose. And so, with all that being said, you got the ball, you made a stop, you got the ball back in overtime for a chance to do anything. And it's like, it's a lot of positives, but it's like, there's no excuses in his opinion. And these are the ones you just got to take. And the coaches got to go back in terms of preparation, because you can go back and say, why was the middle of the field open at certain times? There's different things you can go back to now, especially in clutch situations. But yeah, man, it's one you got to take on the chin. Because like you said, the biggest thing overall, an opportunity to separate ourselves from the Packers.
I said this earlier this week on my other show, Buffone 55. I'm almost to the point now where I'm callous to it. I mean, I am not getting overly angry. I'm not screaming like I normally would, because now my expectations have lowered. Because I don't think this team is ever going to take that next step as they stand right now, as this team is constructed. I don't see them ever taking that next step to being the dominant force in the NFC North, let alone the conference. I'm to the point now where I accept that they are what they are. They are a borderline playoff team with a good defense, a bad offense, average to below average head coaching, and that's what we got to go with. When the team's going to win, if they would have had a defensive turnover, maybe they win. Maybe if Eddie Jackson pulls off a big spectacular play, they win. But you look at some, and I don't want to hear. There were plenty of things that the defense did wrong, but they kept this team in the game. Whether it's holding getting the Saints off the field, just coming up big on a fourth down, they are the ones making up for the turnovers from the offense. They are the ones that kept this team in the game. And once again, we start talking about towards the end of the game, whenever the Bears have a chance to maybe go win it, and Cairo Santos has to bail out his head coach because they're running a draw play for God knows what reason. The play calling again was pretty suspect. In the red zone, Darnell Mooney bails out his head coach because they run it into a brick wall twice with David Montgomery. I know that this is what they are now. that this is what they are. The defense is going to have to keep them in games, and the offense is incapable of taking that next step. They are absolutely incapable. With the way they are built now, they will not take the next step as some favorite to win the conference or some favorite to win the NFC North. So I don't see them. It's finally sinking in that's just not really a possibility with this team for me. That's what I'm finally seeing with this. They'll probably make the playoffs because they were able to bang some wins. They could go. They could lose next week to the Titans and still beat the Vikings twice and the Lions once and the Texans and the Jaguars and still get in. And yeah, anything can happen once you get into the playoffs. But looking at this team as they are right now in this window that they have to win, if this is their window, I'm not very confident because a rebuild's coming quicker than we thought then. If this is the team that's in win now mode, then we shouldn't be expecting to win as the way that they are right now. And that's kind of that's my takeaway from this game. Watching this game, they had every opportunity to try to go win this game. They had every opportunity to make a play and go out and win this game. Mm-hmm. And they kept finding ways to hand the ball back over or take a bad sack, make a bad throw, have a bad play call. Whenever you're trying to move the ball down the field towards the end of the game, why are you throwing 2-yard routes? I know you're not getting much. I know you're not getting much protection back there. So max protect and send the guys down. This is what they are, and I know that's gonna be my recurring theme through this. This is just what they are now. They're gonna beat bad teams.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. It's who's leading the troops, bro. I mean, because it's not because of lack of talent. As you can see, it's possible. It's there. We see Allen Robinson creating separation. I mean, you see him running. Allen Robinson ran some amazing routes. Mooney making that catch in the end zone shows that you can have momentarily, these guys can play. Roquan Smith had probably one of his best lateral games that I've seen. And so it sucks because it's in the window, but do we put it on to the coach or to the quarterback play? Because I'm telling you, if we had a certain play at certain positions, man, we got the talent. You saw Bilal Nichols making that play on Hill. I mean, those were like,
I'm not worried about the defense. I'm not worried about the defense. We're wasting the defense. Once again, the Bears are going through another era of good defense that's not going to win a damn thing. Go back to the annals of history when they have a great defense in the mid-2000s. They got to the Super Bowl once and lost with that. They have a great defense in 2018. They have a great defense last year. They have good defense this year. It's wasting it. They're not going to stay the same age. They're not all going to be 28, 29, and 30 next year. And tell me this offense is a year away from being anything the way that it's constructed right now.
This offense or the offense? Is it the offense? What is it, John? Let's get down to
both. They have a quarterback that can't make the accurate throws, and they have a head coach who thinks that he's running the offense in Kansas City.
Yeah, there's definitely some leadership issues here. A lot of people in the chat area have been saying that, complaining about the coaching and the play calling, and clearly Matt Nagy just can't get whatever it is he's trying to build here. He can't get it going, and I agree. There's talent there. I agree with Tyler. There's talent. You got Allen Robinson. He made some courageous plays out there, man. My heart goes out to what Allen Robinson did out there. Anthony Miller had a good game today. He played his best football since very early in the season. Anthony caught 8 passes. 11 passes were thrown at him. He caught 8 of them for 73 yards. We've got Darnell Mooney, who's looking like he could be a steal in the 5th round. 5 catches, 69 yards, a touchdown. The guy is a super, those 3 wide receivers there are pretty damn good. David Montgomery had hit an extraordinary game by my calculation. He fought hard. He fought for every yard. He was hit many times behind the line of scrimmage, and yet the guy put up some yards. So there's things to build on here, but what is happening is that the offensive line has no consistency, and it's hard to blame them. hey, the backup offensive linemen looked better than the starting group. You know, Jason Spriggs came in at right tackle, and he had a fairly solid game. And there were some breakdowns. Once we take a look at the tape and study things, we'll probably grade him a little lower than I'm grading him right now. I'm kind of giving him a B-. You might end up grading lower. But Rashard Coward at the left guard position, he's just not looking good. I feel bad that he's been moved from position to position to position. So the coaching staff really hasn't helped him. But the Bears coaching staff apparently likes him a lot because he's playing over Alex Bars. Alex Bars, a guy that most of us Bears fans saw in preseason and his rookie season, and he played very well, but he isn't getting the opportunity over Rashard Coward. So what are they seeing in practice? What are they hearing in the meeting rooms where they're teaching the offense and so forth? Why is Coward, over Bars? Well, maybe that's going to change next week. We don't know. But getting back to my original point, this, because of some of the defects on the offense, it's just not happening. And so my question for you guys is, do you start looking at Mitchell Trubisky? Do you start thinking, well, maybe, because he can maneuver in the pocket, maybe we've got a better chance of having some more success on offense? Or are you just putting in a guy who is typically makes bad decisions because Mitch does? Are you just putting him in the fire because the pass protection isn't there? And frankly, Foles is not making the best decisions either. So this is a really bad situation we're in right now.
Tyler, I'll let you take it because you were a Mitch guy. Yeah, not even my question as a coach. I'm a Mitch guy, but from a coaching perspective, I'm a Bears. I'm what's best for the team first. And my question to Mitch is, Mitch, what have you learned since you've been on the bench? I'm not going to put you in as a coach. Don't set your player up for failure. I'm not going to put you in just because it's not fair. That's not fair to Nick. But like, Mitch, what did you learn? What was the positive? What can you pick up on? This is what Rodgers had for Brett Favre. He got to see all the mistakes. This is the first time Mitch has got to see decent quarterback play, better than Mike Glennon, respectfully, to see it. So what does he Mitch learn? And so, but I don't. That's what I'm saying. Bring a quarterback. Is it the quarterback? Like, for me, it's just like where I'm at with it, John. I don't know, because Nick took 3 to 4 coverage sacks, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe 3. Those were coverage sacks. And I appreciate Nick for doing that, because those probably would have been interceptions. He held the ball long as possible, and that was pretty hard to do. And so that means somebody was covered. That means our coach couldn't scheme a hot route open, because if he's holding the ball for that long, where's the hot route? The hot route is automatic 4 yards. So if that's not happening with a 4 wide receiver set, there's an issue on the imagination process, which goes back to the coach. They all decided that play calling was not the problem. Come on, man. But let's just change it up. We're giving away the buffer. We're going to wait till we're 500? We're going to wait till playoffs is in jeopardy? We don't got to wait that long. As bad as we are offensively, John, and I want to hear your thoughts on the quarterback. We're not, besides last week, we're not losing by that much, which is crazy, which says more about the other team if you think about it. As bad as we are.
Defense.
You can say that. Our defense, but still. So if our offense could just play a little bit better, that means we should win every game.
Well, we've been saying the same thing for, 30, 40 years. If the offense could just play a little better, then they'd have a great team. Listen, first of all, I don't think Matt Nagy is going to go back to Mitchell Trubisky, because I've said this on this show. I've said it on other shows that he's not going to admit that he was wrong. He's not going to admit that they were wrong to go get Nick Foles. He's not going to admit that it was wrong to bring in Nick Foles earlier than what people expected. He's Matt Nagy's guy. He's the reason he's throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game. That's what Matt Nagy wants. I really don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong, and it might, and Mitch might come in and light a fire or whatever. I just don't think that's what Matt Nagy is going to do. But getting back to what Aldo, you were talking about, and even at the beginning of this show, we're talking about they did this well and they did this well. Listen, guys, I am so tired of moral victories and things to build on and things that can help you build your identity. We are halfway through the season, and we are in 3 years of this head coaching regime, and even more with the front office. I don't care what you can build off of and what we can learn off of anymore. I don't care that there were bright spots. I care that they lost. I care that they can't beat good teams in close games. I care that they're going to piss away a good defense again. I care that they can't do what they're supposed to do. They can't do what they were brought in to do. An offensive-minded coach that's going to revolutionize the Chicago Bears offense, change the culture. Watch out for the Bears offense. We got Nick Foles back there who can't move and is if you want to say he's an upgrade over Mitchell Trubisky, then where's the bar set at? He's better than Mike Glennon. Where's the bar set at? That you just have to be able to, look both ways? I hate the fact that we're talking about the same crap every week, every year. It seems like we're talking about the same thing. I'm over it. I'm disgusted with this. I'm tired of talking about, well, we're finding our identity. We're finally going to figure out what this team is going to do. I'm tired of this. I'm just over it. I'm disgusted with it, with the way that it's built, the way that it's going. Why isn't there more depth on the offensive line? Why isn't there a project quarterback in the wings? Mm-hmm. Why isn't there more younger talent? Why is this one of the oldest teams in the NFL and they're in the middle of the pack right now? So I'm talking about Ryan Pace. I'm talking about Matt Nagy. I'm talking about the players, the personnel, the way things are set up, the way that it's built from top to bottom, from the offensive system to the people pulling the strings with the draft picks and the personnel. I'm done with it. I'm tired of this. Yeah, I'm not saying they're a terrible team, but I don't want to be I don't want to be middle of the pack at best. I'm tired of being, they could squeak into the playoffs. They might be able to get into the playoffs. Well, yeah, they could. But right now, I think we would all agree that's their ceiling. Their ceiling is making the playoffs. And we had a 5-1 start with some games that were really close. We can say that Bears got some breaks their way. And we're seeing the same damn things every week. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it.
I don't know what to say, man. I think you've summed it all up. Good night, everybody.
I'm in a mood, man. I'm in a mood.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you for feeling that way. This was one of the most emotional games that I've ever gone through. It was a roller coaster ride. I mean, I was always upset at the quality of play, from the offense particularly. And there were some things that the defense did that really pissed me off. But for the most part, it's what is going on with the offense that just has me upset. But, during the game, I keep fighting to be hopeful. I keep fighting to find the good parts of what's going on. I keep fighting to think, we can pull this out. I keep fighting. And then I get kicked in the nuts over and over and over again. And it is, as a Bears fan, this is a really, really tragic time for us because the investments are all there to try to pull this out. To win now. Exactly.
This is the window. This is our window.
Right. And, you make this investment in Jimmy Graham, and then it appears that he is going to have an outstanding season. And then he has a game like he did today where, he dropped a couple of passes. He wasn't sharp with his route running. There was something going on with Jimmy Graham. And then, there's the Cole Kmet. They don't throw to Cole Kmet, and then when they do, it's almost a fumble. I mean, that one play with the forward progress. Oh boy, I think we got a break there, guys. I
originally thought forward progress, but I didn't hear a whistle, so I was like, they're going to let that play out. Yeah. So I assumed that was going to be the end of the game right there.
So there's just so many things that you are hopeful for. All three of us guys want what's best for the Chicago Bears. We love this team and we want to see them succeed. And so there's a big part of us that just feels betrayed right now because all of this energy that we're putting into this team that we love, there's no payback. There's right now, you just look at this team and you see many years of mediocrity. I mean, forget for a second what's ahead the rest of the season, the Tennessee Titans, for example, forget that. It's, no quarterback next season. Like John just said, aging players on defense. This is not good.
Big contracts.
Big fat contracts, a salary cap that's going to be flat or maybe less. It's a mess right now. And so I'm going back after a good night's sleep. I'm going to go back to hoping and trying to figure out a way that the Bears perhaps can fix this, maybe, go back to the max protect, go back to fullback football. Some of these backup offensive linemen did look better than some of the starters, and maybe that's going to be a solution. Maybe Nick Foles is going to be more courageous in the pocket. He needs to have that courage in the pocket because that back foot, boy, he was rattled. He was definitely rattled. And the Bears defense has done it to other quarterbacks. So, but now it's happened to our quarterback. And I didn't expect this out of Nick Foles because of his veteran experience and the fact that he's played on teams that have had poor offensive lines. Well, and actually, we should have known better because last year with the Jacksonville Jaguars, that wasn't a terrible offensive line. And so he lost his job to Gardner Minshew, and which is why he became available to the Bears. So without a good offensive line, I don't care who's there, Mitchell, Foles, it's just a bad situation, and it's made even worse with the lack of proper coaching to fix this thing, so I don't know. I'm frustrated, guys.
Gentlemen, I'm with you. It's all these feelings, our emotions are valid. We're just in a position where we got to weather the storm. That's just what it's all about. What if you're a good player out there going for it all? Like you got some players doing exceptional in their position, but it's a team. It's 11 guys. We're looking at the bigger picture. We want the team that the team we're cheering for. We want them to do great now, but let's dive in deeper, thicker into it. It's collectively everybody has to do their job. You can't fumble the ball, but guess what? After he fumbled the ball, we converted over 3 4th downs. The game was supposed to have been over, guys. Let's just circle back. The game was supposed to be over. It was going to be depressing. It probably would have been better if we didn't come back. I think we're more upset because it would look bad already, but then when we came back, we had a chance to win, and that kind of got us happy. And so we know that we can do good. That's the thing about it. And so from the top down, I think Pace has done a B plus a job with the team. In my opinion, we don't have a lot of the same issues as other teams have. And so if Eddie Jackson intercepts that pass, fellas, we win this game. If Eddie broke on it perfectly. If Breeze was sacked before that 11-yard gain, like it's different. I mean, it really truly is a game of inches. John, I'm with you, bro. I'm not making scapegoats. I want to win, but I gotta protect my peace. I gotta protect my peace. I want to punch something, bro. I feel you.
I know, but it's just like this. We play this coulda, shoulda, woulda game every week. And if a bullfrog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass when it hopped, but it doesn't. So it is what it is. Enough the collective things didn't happen for them to win. Nick Foles, some of those sacks, should have thrown the ball away. Some of the times where they're running it into a brick wall, they should have called something else. Maybe run a route to the sticks sometimes. So we're talking about, well, if this happens and that happens and this guy's playing good. Even bad teams have good players that have standout performances, and it doesn't matter. So because it is a collective sport. It's 11 guys, it's 22 guys really. So even if you have a couple guys who are having outstanding performances, that doesn't matter. And that's what we're seeing. The defense is playing well. I mean, they gave up some plays. Alvin Kamara gashed them up a little bit. But this is what the 2020 NFL looks like though. Offenses are scoring points. Offenses are scoring tons of points. We're seeing 30, 40 points scored on a regular basis.
Yep.
So the fact that they held the Saints to 23 points, came up with some big defensive stops to get the ball back to the offense turns the ball over. And so we're talking about the same thing all the time. We're trying to win a championship in 1975, it looks like. And it's just not going to happen. I know that Foles throwing the ball 40 sometimes, And I don't know, his completion percentage was what? He had 20-something of 41 or something like that. But he looked rattled. Everything was off even when he didn't have to throw off his back foot, he was throwing off his back foot. Some of the interception was horrendous.
Right.
And I've been, I've been pretty supportive of Nick Foles throughout this whole entire process. He was bad. He was bad today. Now he on the touchdown drive, he had a little bit of a streak, but for the most part, just another lackluster performance. And what really irritates me is you see 28 for 41. We're gonna hear the same damn thing from Matt Nagy in the press conference. We're gonna hear the same thing. I got to go back and look at the tape. I don't know. We'll have to look at that. Well, we had some good parts. The defense played great. Well, we wish we had that one back, or they got to do better. We're gonna hear the same thing we hear every week. Look, here's that interception off the back foot, just kind of tosses it from the hip, like he's playing catch with somebody, like he's trying a trick shot with a frisbee, and it goes right into Lattimore's hands.
Right. It comes down when you lose a game, the first thing you're doing, you're thinking about the turnover. It was a bad decision and a bad pass. I mean, all across the board. The drag was open. I mean,
yeah, it was. Mooney was on a drag route.
Yes, it was open. So these are the decisions, momentarily decisions, because it's 13-13. Like
maybe I'm thinking of a different play. I'm thinking of a
he dragged.
There was a different
out at the bottom. Out the bottom.
The out route's open, but he's not going to see him. But for whatever reason. But there's another play where he tried to force it to the sidelines, and Mooney was on a drag route. I don't know how much more open he could have been, but he just didn't see him. And, this is the stuff that we got on Mitch Trubisky about, too, being one-read Mitch. And I don't think Nick Foles is really to that extent, but there were some open guys that he missed. And I think a lot of it was he was feeling the pressure from the Saints D-line. And so it was just a bad – I don't know. There's really – I don't know how detailed and how in-depth we want to get about this, because we could just rerun last week's show. And it would be the same thing. So we'd be talking about the same thing.
Yeah. We're still waiting for Matt Nagy to hit the podium. We'll hear a little bit of him and then maybe a little bit of Nick Foles just to see what kind of excuses they have. But I don't expect – it'll be interesting to see how Matt Nagy comes out, his demeanor. I mean, clearly after the Rams game, it looked like the guy was dejected for over 24 hours. And then it wasn't until Wednesday's press conference where he came out and he kind of shook himself off, and he was talking about, all the negative press out there, all the negative press, bring it on, us, we're going to, circle the wagons. I'm paraphrasing here, but he was trying to use that to motivate the guys. Well, it didn't happen, and again, I'm very concerned about how this team, particularly the offense, comes out of the tunnel in the first quarter and third quarter. The play is just awful. You got another big turning point is you're winning 13-3. You allow them to score in the late in the first half. And then you come out in the second half, you get the ball, and your first offensive series is just atrocious. It is awful. And, you mistake after mistake after mistake in that third quarter, and you just dig a really big hole as opposed to, having this 13-3 lead that you're always complaining about. We don't have an opportunity to work with the lead. You had it and you blew it. Man, oh man, I'm just so frustrated.
And you got a wide receiver who is obviously more concerned about himself, going up and punching a guy not once but twice, and essentially your offense can't afford to move backwards, and then you're going to go and do that.
Something happened though. So I can't wait to hear what was said. Something had to happen because he made a conscious decision. I'm about to hit.
That was premeditated, man. He went up to him. He looked like he was trying to move his mouthpiece up.
I'm a reserve judgment because, I don't think he was.
You shouldn't do that though.
He might have been standing up for. If you're gonna go down swinging, show some fight. We ain't no punks. No.
You're a punk that didn't win. Yeah. You can be hard and still lose the football game.
We don't know what was said. We don't know what was said. So. But at the end of the day, you a man. He said, "Hey, hold on, look at me for a second. Come here, hold on, take another one." That was something. I don't know. I'm not making light of it, but something had to happen.
Well,
Sure.
I think they showed the replay earlier where the defender
put in Anthony Miller's face.
Yeah, he put his fingers in Miller's face. So I think it was about.
I saw that, Aldo. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, fine, but let's not forget we're not. You're not sticking up for your buddy. Outside of your house. You're doing your job. You're doing your profession. You are a professional football player. If you got a problem with him, then take it. Then deal with it off the field, man. Because you're costing your team. You're making a conscious decision to cost your team 15 yards. Yeah. And you're going out. And by the way, you hit him. You hit him like this. The guy just stared at you. You realized you didn't do anything to him, so you had to hit him again. So it's not.
But if we're not getting any damn fight from our coach, what the players to do? Hold on.
Not punch the other team.
Hell, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we weren't going to go for it there on fourth down. We're just like Sean did to us at the end, trying to get us to jump off sides and try to steal a free first down, and that's what we were doing. We tried to pop a run on that 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, just to steal a first down, which we've done. We did a couple times today on 3rd down, and that can keep a defense honest with some of the things they do, and you can hit some. We didn't hit that one, and so unfortunately, it made it into that 4th and 1, 4th and 2. And your field position wasn't real good. And then also that wind at that point in time was kind of kicking in our face. So it just that one hurt a little bit.
Stacey Dales.
Coach, you appear to be very emotional. None of us can understand what it's like to be in your position. What kind of emotions are you feeling right now going through this process? To give us a perspective of how difficult this is in a pandemic against a really good team, and you're, fighting for your life, so to speak.
Yeah, I would say the frustration comes just because I want it so bad for these guys. I want it for the city. I want it for our organization, and I care a lot about all of that I just said. And so it's emotional at the end of a game when you fight like this and you're playing against a good football team and a Hall of Fame quarterback and they're a good football team. So to lose like that on a last second field goal in overtime, there's positives that you take out of it. But again, it's always better to coach off the wins than it is the losses. When we reflect at where we're at right now, I know no one's happy and we're not happy. But what we got to do is, fortunately for us, any way you look at it, we ended up winning these 5 games early on. And so now we got to figure out, okay, are we going to start going against each other, or are we going to stick together and fight through this thing? And I know what we'll do. It's just, it takes time. And then anytime you lose 2 games in a row, that part hurts too. We don't want that. We don't like that, but we got to rely on the leaders right now. In times like this, this is times, in my opinion, when the leaders of your team, they step up and they say, all right, enough's enough. It's go time. And that's where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Who's the biggest leader on this team, though? The head coach.
Matt, you guys have leaned on your defense all year. When it gets to overtime and they allow 2 fairly substantial drives, what did you make of their performance and the ability to get home, or the inability to get home to Breeze when rushing the passer?
Yeah, there's a few plays here or there that I know that they'll want back, but we feed off of our defense. That's just, let's face the facts. That's who we are. That's who this team is. We feed off of how our defense does, and I'll never question or get on those guys in regards to what I think they're doing and not doing. I'm proud of them. I think they play hard, and again, they're going against a really good offense today and a great quarterback. So. I'm going to rely on them, continue to keep listening to what their suggestions are and where they're at. They're going to keep fighting. Chuck and the coaches are going to do the same thing. And then we as a unit collectively, all 3 phases can only follow, and just, but I'm proud of them. And I know they're going to want to always play better, but we got to just keep plugging along.
A couple more for Coach. Jason Leisure.
Matt, offensively, I look at this and it seems like one of your better games. It seems like progress possibly. Is your frustration the fact that you see those flashes and there's a disparity between what the offense could be and what it consistently is?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what it is. And it's hard. It's hard for me to try to figure that thing out. It's hard because we're all trying, and we talked about just cutting it loose and just having fun and not playing tight and doing that. And there was a lot of times in that game I felt where we were doing that. And again, I'm just going to continue to go back. I'm really, really bothered by that third quarter incident. That bothers me. I'm being completely honest with you guys. It bothers me. And so, but I am proud of the guys that played hard. I'm proud of the guys that were selfless and tried to do everything they could to help us win.
All right, fellas.
Adam Hogue.
Clearly.
And Matt, understanding that you had a few guys out on the offensive line.
Clearly an emotional Matt Nagy. He and clearly very bothered by what transpired with Javon Wims. I think that there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to see Javon Wims cut tomorrow. And while he is a valuable player in many ways, I think he's like listed as the fourth wide receiver on the depth chart. And so he's got a lot of responsibility and a lot of responsibility on special teams. But you've got Riley Ridley waiting in the wings for his opportunity. And so if Javon Wims isn't cut, he's definitely going to be suspended, be inactive for the rest of the season. Maybe they'll keep him around in case of insurance, in case guys get injured. But in my mind, perhaps the best thing to do is to cut him. If you don't want that culture around, then you got to treat it as a zero tolerance issue. And so you release him and you move forward. And, that might create some trouble in the clubhouse, because some players might say, hey, he was coming to the defense of one of our guys. But there's just no way you can defend that behavior. I mean, one punch, okay, you get fined, you get suspended for a game, but the multiple punches, the NFL is going to
premeditated.
Yeah.
He wasn't tangled up with them. They weren't jawing at each other. They weren't holding each other's face masks. That's not really how it is. And you know what? You don't do that if you're, how many winning teams do you see that BS out of, where if you're a dominant team and you're taking a team to the woodshed, you don't worry about that. What's the saying, Tyler? You're going to like this, that the lion doesn't concern himself with the opinion of sheep. So if someone's jawing at you or they're saying BS stuff to you, you don't care if you're a better team than they are. So I'm not saying that Javon Wims hit them because they were losing or they were a bad team, but I don't think you do that if you're head and shoulders above that other team as far as class and talent. But just from that press conference, man, I mean, it's just, once again, fall back on. We got our 5 wins, just like he was talking about before the Rams game. We're 5-1, just like we're talking about before this game. We're 5-2. And so we're falling back on the same thing. And how about the offensive-minded genius who was brought in to revolutionize the Chicago Bears offense, saying, well, that's who we are. We feed off our defense. Oh, that's what you want to hear. Good. That the offensive-minded coach says we feed off our defense. That's who we are. That's how we're built. That's good. Now we know. Now we know that the offense is not going to be the leader on this team ever.
Tony Moy is saying that over on NBC Sports Chicago, Matt Forte and those guys that are on that show are betting that Javon Wims is cut, and that's what I think. I think and you saw it there in Matt Nagy's face. He's so perturbed by what that happened, and any coach would be. You don't want your players behaving that way. And in the game of football, when somebody disrespects you, when somebody does something, there are ways to go about getting that player back where it's not like that. There are shots to the ribs. There are things
they're scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. That's even better.
those are things that a veteran wide receiver knows. That's Allen Robinson probably gets that all the time. And so that's the difference. And cause and effect. Cause and effect. So you'll learn from that. But even going back to Nagy, I just kind of wish he felt on the sword a little bit more. Let's make a stand, say, you know what? We have the best dang defense in the NFL, and it's our fault. The offense, make a bold statement. The offense let the defense down. I just don't hear him fall on the sword enough. That's what upsets me, because it's like, bro, how much longer are you going to be here? Because I just wish you would take more ownership. If it's bad, it's bad. Take ownership. Tell me that you're fixing something. Don't tell me the plays. I got the dang drive summary. I know what happened. I don't need that. Tell me what you're doing to fix it. What did you talk to the player about? Like what was it? Was it the step? Was it the drop? Was it the launch point? What was it, coach? These are the things that need to be discussed. You, the quarterback coach, because our quarterback isn't playing good enough. Point blank, period. So what is it? What is the disconnect? What is the disconnect? It's very simple. It's like there's a science to this. This is not. It's really it's chess, but it's really checkers. All right. It's coach. The offense ain't. If the offense scored 4 touchdowns a game, we're having over what 10 to 15 possessions.
Well, Tyler, I think that's one of the biggest problems. All of his press conferences and all of his interviews, he responds as if he's just the offensive coordinator. Or he responds as if he's the quarterback, because he always talks about Cole Kmet's got to get more involved. We got to get like you're the head coach. The buck is supposed to stop with you. So if the responsibility should fall on you, but he kind of just gives interviews like he's just the play caller. And, we got to talk about that, and we have to see how we got to do this better, and we got to do that. Can't you just say we screwed up? The offense let the defense down, and stop talking like you're the quarterback, or stop talking like you're just the play caller, because you're the head coach. I mean, maybe you take responsibility in the locker room whenever you're talking to your players, and you say, I got to do better and all that other stuff. But that sure as hell doesn't come out in public. And so your point is absolutely right. A little more accountability for what is your football team. You are the head coach. I know you're the play caller, but you were hired to be the head coach. You weren't brought in to be the offensive coordinator. You weren't brought in to be the play caller. You were brought in to be the CEO of the Chicago Bears. And so far, and I talked about this earlier this week, I think he's just overwhelmed. Because it's hard to be a play caller and the head coach. I think he loses track of game situations whenever he's got his face buried in his menu. I think that he isn't able to understand or do the other things that some head coaches can do by just overseeing the entire situation, overseeing the entire atmosphere, because he's got to find the perfect play, to call. And I just think that's just too much that he's trying to handle right now for him. And I know that it would be a demotion in his eyes, or it'd be taking a step back, because obviously it is hard as hell to get a head coaching gig in the NFL. And you fight and you claw, and we know Matt Nagy's journey from an intern with the Eagles all the way up to the Chicago Bears, how much he's fought to get that head coaching position. So I'm sure he would not want to relinquish anything that he has earned. But eventually, I think that you got to oversee and be like, I'm here to be the head coach. And he worked for Andy Reid. Andy Reid gave up play calling responsibilities to Matt Nagy. And so I think that's something he's got to look at.
We've got Foles at the podium.
Give ourselves an opportunity to push the game into overtime. Our special teams did a great job. Howard did a great job. And then the third down you're specifically talking about, I was moving in the pocket, looking downfield, because there's, I don't know the exact distance.
My tag off that, man.
But it's a little longer. So you're trying to look for a big play right then and there. Nothing there. So just try to be smart at that point, and not throw the ball in harm's way for field position purpose, and, just get down. But my eyes were looking, trying to find someone open downfield. They did a nice job covering up.
Thank you.
Adam Hogue.
Hey, Nick, in talking to Matt, he seemed understandably bothered by some of the pre-snap confusion and some of those issues. It looked like your helmet went out at some point. But he also mentioned how you're looking at the wristband. I don't know if he meant that as like maybe that the issue shouldn't be happening, but I guess why do you feel like those issues are still popping up, and what can be done to fix them?
Yeah, I mean, it's just we just have to communicate better, and that's something that we'll have to talk about as we go forward. That's something that we as, players and coaches will get together and figure out where the issues are lying, because I don't have an answer for you. I know that each game we've had a couple instances that haven't, the communication hasn't been well, so we have to figure out what's going on.
JJ?
That's really troubling.
Well, that's good to hear.
I'm just curious, where do you feel like your grasp of this offense is right now? Just now 5 starts in, and your handle on just the responsibilities that you have inside it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a good grasp on what we're doing right now. The big thing is we just have to continue to work and build on things, the positives for tonight. And then where we maybe have mistakes as an offense, just working on cleaning those things up. And that's the process we talk about, because there were good things out there. We were able to improve in different areas, get some explosive plays and whatnot. So those are the things we have to focus on as an offense and continue to move forward.
Jason?
Nick, with explosive plays, the 80-yard drive you guys had was probably the best you guys have looked. Why hasn't that kind of stuff happened more in the offense?
That, you know what, that's something that we're working towards. If I had that answer, it probably wouldn't be happening, right? So I think it's just, you know, rhythm, tempo, all the little things in football that we're figuring out. There's a lot of new moving pieces here, whether it be coaches and players, that we're working to bond together and figure out this as a unit. And, you know, the thing on the sideline was there was never a lack of belief in the game. The sidelines were positive. There was always belief. We were always in it. And we were continuing to play, and we just played until that clock hit zero. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out, you know, with a victory for us. But there were positives out there from a growth standpoint from this offense, and that's really what we got to focus on.
Dan Wiederer?
Nick, you had those back-to-back deep shots. What did you see on the long ball to Mooney down the middle, and then also on the touchdown ball to A-Rob?
Yeah, I mean, they had a safety cut, a deep cross, and I was able to get a ball down the middle to Mooney, and then they went man coverage, and A-Rob, you know, we were able to connect on a great route and just try to put the ball back there and let him make a play. So that was nice getting going right there.
Kevin Fishbane?
Last one, guys.
Hey, Nick, the interception in the third quarter, I imagine that was just kind of a flurry of events following Javon's ejection. What went wrong on the pick, and then how did you as a quarterback try to put into perspective just that sequence that went on for you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy that went on right there that I have no clue what happened, but specifically on the pick, I gotta get a better ball to Jimmy. I was trying to flick it up there, and that's on me. I got to get him a better ball so he can make a play.
Accountability.
Joe Lewis?
One last from Joe Lewis.
Yeah, hey Nick, how would
He's
you
a great
rate the
boxer.
job Sam Mustipher did in replacing Cody Whitehair this week?
Yeah, obviously, Cody's working hard to get healthy, but we're so excited to get him back. But Sam really did a great job stepping up. He's a really great young player, really smart, great mentality. I thought he did a really nice job tonight.
All right, fellas,
Brad
your
Biggs.
thoughts on Nick Foles' thoughts.
We're talking about miscommunication halfway through the season. We're talking about we're not on the same page, and we're talking about the little positives that we can build off of, and how we're trying to. If I had the answer, then we wouldn't be in this mess. And I'm once again, it's getting into everything that I was talking about earlier, where it's just like, listen, I don't want to hear that anymore. I just like every week when you lose, it's just there's communication. We got to fix it. And it's just it's the same freaking song and dance. I thought maybe the football gods were giving us a blessing whenever they cut out Nick Foles' communication in his helmet. He could have just went out there and threw the ball around instead of having to listen to Nagy take half an hour to get a play call in. So, but it's the same thing. So I mean, it's nothing surprised me out of that other than him being a little more candid about there being a communication issue. And that starts once again with the head coach. So nothing overly surprising there.
Tyler, your thoughts?
I mean, Nick Foles. I just like the fact that he said that was my fault with the interception.
Yeah.
It was my fault. I should have threw a better ball. Thank you. Okay, cool. He's human. Like you can't fault the guy who takes accountability. At least we know you recognize the issue, and I know you're gonna go look at what you could have done better. Cool. That's all I can expect from a grown man at the end of the day. And so it's just frustrating, man, because he's our coach until he's not our coach anymore. And so it's like, but like, how does those Andy Reid it comes to the problem isn't you can't fix a problem by changing coaches every 3-4 years. That's what
You're right.
And so it's like firing a coach just to bring in is like you don't know what you're gonna get, and you want to get back into that. Are we just patiently waiting for Nagy to figure it out and it's gonna click? I mean, Andy Reid and the Eagles went a long time before, like at least you saw offensive productivity, you saw production with the Westbrooks and the Owens and stuff. If we could just score an average of 3 offensive touchdowns a game, I think that's where we'll be at. I just think right now we just gotta. It is what it is. We got Jason Cox in the chat. You're right, bro. We draft offensive linemen in the 7th round. So it's like until we draft, I mean, we gotta. Yo, that's what it is. I mean, 2nd round, 3rd round, we gotta draft some linemen. So this season, fellas, we got what we got. It's a roll of the dice. It's a boxing match, and at the end of the day, let's see who got the most wins. I mean, it is what it is at this point. I mean, it's really magic. Nick or Mitch, I think they both do different things that the other can't do, and so that's just what it is. I mean, you're losing one with the other. I mean, I don't want to confuse anybody. It is what it is, fellas. But our defense gives us a chance, and that's what we got.
Yeah, they're not gonna get blown out of any games because of the defense being so solid. But we talked about this before. We can't expect any are we expecting the Bears to win any blowout games this year? No, because they're even though the defense could potentially stifle the opposing team, the offense isn't gonna run away with anything. So they're gonna play close games with Minnesota. They're gonna play another close game with the Lions. They'll probably play a close game with Houston and Jacksonville. Hell, they might lose a couple of those games. So you would like that. So right now they have a team. The defense is good enough to win games, and the offense is good enough to beat the likes of the Lions, the Falcons, the Giants. And you know they did show up and they beat Tom Brady and the Bucs. So there is you see some potential there. But we've seen 2 weeks in a row. 2 pretty good teams, with the Rams lost to the Dolphins today. But you see them 2 weeks playing 2 pretty good teams, 2 probable playoff teams, and on the eye test, if you're not looking at the box score and you're not looking at the score on the scoreboard or anything, you just do the eye test of watching the game. You say those 2 teams, first of all, are just better overall in personnel, and number 2, they got better coaches. McVay ran circles around Nagy. And Peyton is obviously a better coach just from his track record. So I mean, it's just you use the eye test on that, and you see that you, like you said, and what I've been saying, they are what they are until they aren't anymore.
And we still got time. But we still got time because with the Rams losing today, the Rams before they played us, they lost to San Francisco. So that's cool. That's what's up.
So everything worked out today. The Vikings beat the Packers. Everything was on a platter for the Bears to take a big step today. That's why this loss sucks even more, because if they win this game, they set themselves up really, really well. And they couldn't do it. They had every opportunity to do it, and they just couldn't take it.
So we're still in contention, but we'll see those teams again, John. We'll see those teams again, and hopefully, I believe we'll be better, man. I'm trying to be positive, brother. I'm with you, dog.
I know.
I'm trying to be a little positive because it's still working in our favor somewhat. But it's just like I just wish I wanted to turn it on now, because it's not like we can't score. It's frustrating because we know it's possible. We scored like how many points in the 4th quarter? I'm mad because we can score. We just lack consistency, which is why I know it's in the communication and the coaching.
Well, one thing about this part of the schedule is we knew this part of the schedule is going to be tough. Let me call up the schedule here real quick so that we can talk about it, because when we looked at the schedule months ago, we knew that this stretch of the Rams, New Orleans, Tennessee, that was going to be a tough stretch. The fact that we won these 5 games out of the first 6 was pretty extraordinary and put us in a good point and a good place. So, now you got to play Tennessee, which is probably going to be a loss. That's a really good Tennessee team, and I'm really scared of what that running back is going to do. Derrick Henry is going to do to this Bears defense, especially Roquan Smith, who has difficulty tackling running backs that are going right at him. But then after that, you've got Minnesota and you've got Green Bay and you've got Detroit. Those are the NFC North teams that you've got to beat.
Money time.
Right. So all of a sudden you could have 6 victories, 7 victories, 8 victories. You play Houston at home. You have 9 victories. It is possible still to turn this season around. How do you do it? You do it by coaching up these players. and maybe taking some risks with some of the guys that some of these backup offensive linemen who really held their own. And maybe you tell Bobby Massey, hey, you're going to stay on the bench. I don't care if you're healthy. Maybe there is the trade deadline is Tuesday. Maybe there is an opportunity to bring in somebody that can help on the offensive line or who can create some kind of spark on the offense. Maybe an offensive running back or Lamar Miller who's been getting better from this ACL. Maybe he comes in and he can complement David Montgomery with the run game. So as frustrated as I am, and I'm with John with his level of frustration and with Tyler, you guys can add up your frustration and that's probably where I'm at. But I'm just an idiot Chicago Bears fan. I still am not going to quit on this team and still hope that they are going to turn this thing around and at least get into the playoffs. I'm not kidding myself into thinking that this is a Super Bowl quality team, but at least give us some wins so that Tyler, John, and myself and the hundreds of people on our live chat and the thousands more that'll see this on the replay on demand we can come and get together and have a good time instead of feeling miserable like we do right now.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I expect that I have enough confidence in this team, which I know it's weird for me to say, that they can make a playoff run because I see how their schedule shakes out and I see beatable teams and I see the fact that they have those 5 wins and then they can probably squeeze out 5 more. Maybe 9-7 gets you in, 10-6 will get you in most likely. So I see them, and so I'll be pumped on wild card weekend. If they got to travel to, hell, if they get a good enough wild card seed, maybe they have to go to the winner of the NFC East, and that's going to be either the Eagles and the Cowboys, who I'm watching right now, which is the dumpster fire. But so maybe they got to go there. So once you get in. They have the potential. Their defense is good enough. That's a playoff quality defense that they could squeeze out a game on wild card weekend, and they could make noise if they really play up to their capabilities. But like I said before, I'm done expecting this team to be. They're going to take the next step this year, and they're going to win the North, and they could be the number 1 seed. They could be a bye week team in the playoffs. The way that this is constructed, which is basically you have what you have probably this year and probably next year until maybe they hit the reset button at some point. But their window to win is definitely this year and maybe next year. And you would like to see a team that you think, wow, that's a Super Bowl quality team. I don't see that.
I will say this. I do think. And I know, John, that you said that there's no way that Matt Nagy will admit, that he made a mistake or, contradict himself with the whole quarterback thing. But I really do believe that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy should sit down along with the offensive coaches and really have a discussion about whether it's time to bring Mitch Trubisky back in, because it appears to me that Nick Foles is never going to play to that caliber of play that is Super Bowl. Maybe, at his age, he's had enough, all those beatings behind poor offensive lines and so forth. He's had enough. And so what you have in Mitchell Trubisky, perhaps that is salvageable. Perhaps you got a guy who can come back and play at an average or above average caliber of play, because that's what you need out of a quarterback with this defense is play fairly well. So I'm not saying, put Mitch back in. I'm not a big Mitch guy. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a big Mitch guy, but I do think that there has to be a conversation now about potentially putting him back in, because what else have you got? Nick Foles is not the future of this organization, and maybe you give Mitch one last shot to see if he could be. What do you guys think?
I think it shows. I think what it does is they potentially see that as a move of desperation. Like, oh man, Mitch wasn't good enough, so we brought in Nick Foles. Well, Nick Foles wasn't good enough, so Well, let's go back with Mitch. So you can't be a playoff quality team, and every week you're thinking, well, should it be Foles or should it be Mitch or should we go back on this or do this or it? Like you can't. You can't do that. And they're talking about still building up the communication between Foles and either the players or the coaching staff, whatever the hell they're talking about as far as communication goes. So if they don't have that communication set up with Foles, is Mitch supposed to just jump back in there? And listen, they were running a certain offense with Mitch that they're not running with Foles. So do they go back to that now and send the players through another whirlwind of changing things up again? So, I mean, do you just keep chasing your tail at that point? So
Well,
I don't know.
You make a great point there because the running game, although it looked pretty decent today, but the running game was good when Mitchell Trubisky was the quarterback, and they had worked all the offseason of having Mitch under center more, of running the ball under center more. And so then you bring in the backup quarterback who has rarely in his NFL career played under center, and he's out of the shotgun much more often. So, it's like, it's typical of the Bears that they put together a team that really doesn't complement. You draft the tight end. What's the name of the tight end that we ended up trading to the Carolina Panthers? Greg Olsen. Right. You draft Greg Olsen, and then a year or two later, you bring in a offensive coordinator who hates pass catching tight ends. He wants another offensive lineman there, and so they end up trading Greg Olsen. Mm-hmm. It's so typical. And I think that Ryan Pace is guilty of this, is that when he builds a team, he doesn't have a plan. It's like this team doesn't have identity on offense. This team doesn't have an identity because of Ryan Pace's bizarre drafting strategy, in my opinion. I don't know.
First time GM getting in one of his first couple of coaches. And so it goes round and around. And so, but Aldo, I do agree with that sentiment, as in it has to be a discussion. I mean, as a football, anybody in leadership, you got to think about it, because knowing what we know now, how Foles, we know what we're getting with Foles. Foles is gonna make some good passes and stuff. But if when Foles is hot, he's hot. So we thought Mitch was holding us back, but it doesn't look like that's was the real reason for that. Right. And so if Mitch was able, like I said, man. Mitch is still going to be a backup quarterback somewhere else in the league if he leaves Chicago. Mitch is still finishing his first contract ever in the league. Nick Foles is good after a 17-year career. So, Mitch still has room to grow and learn. We never know what's going to happen. And so, is it possible? Yeah, why not? But Mitch, decision-making, what did you learn? Mitch can still run for first downs. Mitch is good for 20 yards. Mitch would have got that first down that Foles took that sack on. And so it's situational football. At the end of the day, do whatever it takes to win the game. Sean Payton just showed that. Win the game. You can flip him out if that's what it's going to go to. It's not about playing, different quarterbacks. Who cares about that? Just get the W. Nagy you should be trying to save your job at this point. Save your job, bro. Figure it out. Forget about the politics. Who cares how it looks? Don't worry about the fans' opinion. Win the game. But it's going to come down to John and Aldo, whose ego is that they're going to admit that you're wrong. All these other things. If you go back to Mitch, that means you definitely can't go back to Nick. Man, just win the freaking game. How can we get out of this game? Because somebody in the chat said, Mitch has been benched for less than what Nick has done. Nick has done some things and Mitch was benched for less than that. So we thought it was Nick. I'm actually very interested to see what Mitch would do with the opportunity again. Because with this offensive line that you can't really stand up in, at least Mitch can, I don't know, but Mitch, you can't turn the ball over. One interception and you're cut. One interception and you're done. And so
excuse me for interrupting. Josh makes a really good point that, I feel the same way as Josh does. I'm not necessarily endorsing putting Mitch in, but if Mitch goes in, almost just hand the offense to him. Say, dude, playground, make believe you're back at North Carolina. Run, pick up first downs, make big throws, call the play. It's almost you gotta at this point of the relationship between Nagy and Trubisky. If Trubisky is going to get back in there, you've got to model the offense over what he likes and let him make key decisions. This is.
And then do you have to go on an identity search again to figure out, who we are, and then we're miscommunicating, and we're still working on that, and then we get 4 more weeks of that BS fed to us after a loss. Then
there goes John making sense again.
It was just, well, we're going to change the offense. We're still trying to figure out what works. We're still trying to figure out our identity. We just got Mitch back in there. We're going to try to find the things that he does well and make sure those complement the other guys. We're going to get we're not going to get a bowl of word soup. We're going to get a cauldron of word soup where we just keep talking and talking. And there's always a good explanation for this without actually saying anything.
Guys, I think we're ready to wrap this baby up. Should we go around the room for final thoughts? If so, I will start. I gotta tell you that I have been following this team for decades. I mean, and what I'm seeing now is probably at the top of my frustration, and I don't know what the answer is. And I could sit down and watch tape and try to figure it out, but that's not my job. It's the job of the head coaches. It's the job of the players, and they need to figure this out. And I think that if this continues, the Barroom Network is going to start a campaign to clean out Hallis Hall, just like they sanitize it for the players for COVID reasons. We're going to have to sanitize the GM, get rid of him, the coaching staff, and just blow this whole thing up and start over, because we're in a dire situation here. And you've invested a lot into winning now, and you just don't. You aren't. We started a show 2-3 weeks ago with a win, and I was bitching and moaning, saying this offense is not sustainable, and it's not. We're seeing it. It's just getting worse and worse. So I don't know. It's frustrating. I might have lost for words. This loss has really been a kick to the nuts. So I'll just say that I'm going to go to bed tonight. I'm going to say a prayer and say, please, help us find a solution here, because I would really, really love to see some victories for us. We deserve it as fans. Damn it, Tyler. What do you think?
I think that the loss definitely sucks today. Bears Nation, Barroom Nation, appreciate everybody in the chat, man. You guys are awesome. I mean, you guys have some good rants in there. And so, but I'm just trying to be encouraged. I'm very happy that our inside linebackers are playing a lot better. I don't know if you guys are noticing, but Danny Trevathan, who was not looking like really warmed up in the beginning of the season, we covered the flats, I want to say, better than we had before. And this with Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith playing the way they are, I'm actually very confident. I think we're going to beat the Titans. I just truthfully think we can, because it's going to be magical if the offense works. I just think it's all going to. Our kicker is making the field goals, and our defense is our defense. I just feel like if they could just play with, if our offense could just score consistently, we'd be in great shape. But that's me wishing. And so, but besides that, man, bear down, man. You got to weather the storm. You got to weather the storm. It's early enough in the season. When the dust settles, we'll see where we're at.
Listen, I know I've been rather cynical and negative throughout this show, and maybe it is a tad reactionary, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because I love this team. The Chicago Bears are one of my favorite things in the entire world. I live and die with this team. Obviously, I haven't watched them as long as Aldo has, but I feel very close to this team for obvious reasons. And so when I see a team that was built to win now, because I've never been alive when the Bears have won a Super Bowl. I can't tell you how much I would love to see that. So when I see a GM and a head coach and an organization put together a team that truly they are in win now mode, that should excite you as a fan, and it should give you some hope. But what I see was the Bears are going all in on a lot of things, and they don't really have a Super Bowl quality roster right now, or system, or team, for whatever you want to call it. They don't have it. So the thing that really upsets me is we could probably see a rebuild in 2 years, maybe 3 years. And once again, we see a good Chicago Bears defense get wasted. Guys that deserve to win championships, like Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, Like they're going to be on the wrong side of 30. They are on the wrong side of 30 already. And they're not going to get any younger. And all of a sudden you're going to see these big contracts with guys who are on the backswing of their careers, and they have nothing to show for it. And as fans, we get a year older every year. It's just like, well, maybe when I'm in my mid 30s, they'll be good. Or maybe that's just me talking from my own experience. Maybe in 10 years they'll have a team. As fans, our clock's ticking just like anybody else's. We want to see this team win. And it's just so frustrating to see the product that we saw today. And this is supposed to be the window of victory. This was supposed to be from 2018 to whenever. This was the Bears' window to shine. This was their time to shine. This is whenever they were going to make the most noise in the playoffs, maybe even a Super Bowl. And we wasted a window. We saw it in the early mid 2000s when they had a great defense. They made it to a Super Bowl. That was really exciting. They lost. We didn't quite get there. I want to get there. So for me, I'm going to root for them every week. I hope they win. I hope they win every week. I hope they make the playoffs. I hope they make a great run. I hope they surprise me and surprise everybody else and make me look like an ass whenever they're in the playoffs and they're in the NFC Championship game. I hope that happens. But right now, it just doesn't seem plausible. So that's where the root of my frustration is. But as far as what's going on at the Barroom Network for the rest of the week for me, Phone 55 comes out on Wednesday after we have a little bit of time to digest this loss, kind of look forward. We'll have somebody who covers the Titans come on and talk about what the Bears will be going up against. I have a feeling it's going to be a heavy load of Derrick Henry. We'll talk all about that on Wednesday. Also, Alyssa Barbieri and I have a new show on the Barroom Network called Pass the Mic, a show all about empowering female voices in sports media. There'll be a new show out this week. We've had some awesome guests talking about their journey to where they're at, the struggles and harassment and all of that stuff that they've had to go through that is just unwarranted. And it's unfortunate that these women, they have to go through so much just to do something they love. And it's not because of, their performance or how they're doing their job. A lot of the times they catch this stuff simply because they're female. So we're going to bring to light that conversation. But we're also going to celebrate their journey as well. So it's a lot of fun. Aldo, you're on for that show every once in a while. And, Alyssa, we have a good chemistry from Phone 55 and we roll right into Pass the Mic. So that's on the network every other Thursday right here on the Barroom Network.
And I'll just leave you also by saying that Greg Gabriel and David Schuster have their Bears Talk show tomorrow. We record late morning, so the podcast will be out in the afternoon, and then they will be back later in the week to preview the upcoming Tennessee game. But it's going to be very interesting to listen to David Schuster and Greg Gabriel. They've got a little bit of a side bet. David doesn't think that the team will finish above 500, and Gabriel has bet him that they will. So there's gonna be some nice trash talking between the two of them. Anything else, fellas, before I roll the final video?
I think we said it all.
Okay.
They're down.
Take it down.